"Let me touch him. Your husband will come back," said the little beggar girl to the woman on the highway. Jennifer Wilson felt her heart race as she checked the weak pulse of Michael, her husband of 15 years, collapsed on the hot asphalt of the highway, cutting through the countryside of Pennsylvania. Cars sped by, completely ignoring the desperate scene unfolding on the dusty shoulder. That's when she heard a child's voice, very close. "Let me touch him. Your husband will come back." Jennifer looked up, startled, and saw a girl of about 8 years old, wearing tattered clothes and bare feet, watching Michael with a seriousness that didn't match her age. Her blonde hair was disheveled, her face dirty with dust, but her blue eyes shone with a strange determination. "Get away, child," Jennifer shouted, more out of desperation than anger. "My husband is sick. I need to call an ambulance." "I know he's sick," the girl replied calmly, stepping closer. "But I can help. Let me touch him." "What do you mean, touch him? You're just a child." Jennifer grabbed her phone with trembling hands, but the screen showed no signal. The highway was in a mountainous area known for dead zones. The girl knelt beside Michael, ignoring Jennifer's protests. "My name is Emily. I live over there." She pointed to a distant overpass, where Jennifer could see some tarp-covered shacks. "I know your husband." "Impossible. Michael never mentioned you. He comes by here every weekday, always at the same time, brings us food, sometimes medicine. Yesterday he didn't come, not even this morning. We got worried." Jennifer felt as if the ground had vanished beneath her feet. Michael worked as a sales representative and traveled often, but he'd never mentioned any struggling community or charity work. In fact, he always complained they had no extra money to help anyone. "This can't be true," she murmured, but her voice wavered. Emily had already placed her small hands on Michael's chest and began singing a song softly. It was a simple melody, almost a whisper, but there was something in it that made Jennifer fall silent. The song was familiar, but she couldn't place it. Michael had fainted almost an hour ago, right after a terrible argument they'd had in the car. She wanted to sell the family home to buy a smaller apartment in the city, while he insisted it wasn't the right time. The fight got so bad that he pulled over, stepped out for air, and just collapsed. "Keep singing," Jennifer urged, noticing Michael's breathing seemed steadier. "How do you know this song?" "He always hums it when he's here. Said it's his wife's favorite song." Jennifer's heart leaped. It was true. That song was "Songbird" by Carole King, the one playing on the radio the day they met 20 years ago. Michael used to hum it when he was happy, but she hadn't heard him do it in ages. A truck honked loudly as it passed, snapping Jennifer back to the urgency of the situation. "I need to get help. Where's a phone around here?" "At the gas station 5 miles down. But it'll take time. Let me stay with him while you go." "I can't leave a child alone with my unconscious husband. He won't hurt me." Emily smiled for the first time. "And I won't hurt him. We've known each other for 2 months." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. Jennifer looked at Michael, who did seem more stable with the girl nearby. She made a decision she never imagined she'd make under any other circumstances. "All right, but if anything happens, you scream real loud, understand?" Emily nodded and went back to singing softly. Jennifer ran to the car and sped toward the gas station, her heart torn between the urgency of getting help and the strangeness of the whole situation. At the station, the attendant confirmed her worst fear. The ambulance from the nearest town was handling another case and wouldn't be available for 2 hours. The hospital was also far, nearly an hour's drive. "You could try taking him in your car," the young man suggested. "Sometimes it's faster." Jennifer thanked him and rushed back. She found Emily right where she'd left her, singing quietly and holding Michael's hand. To her surprise, his eyes were half open. "Michael!" she cried, dropping to her knees beside him. "Are you okay?" He tried to speak, but only a weak groan came out. His eyes moved slowly, as if trying to focus. "He opened his eyes when I was singing," Emily explained. "I think he recognized me." "What do you mean, recognized?" Jennifer cradled her husband's face in her hands. "Michael, can you hear me?" He gave a slight nod, but seemed confused and weak. "We're taking him to the hospital," Jennifer decided. "Emily, thank you for your help, but you can go now." "Can I come with you?" the girl asked, with a shyness she hadn't shown before. "He always said if we ever needed anything, we could come to him." Jennifer hesitated. It made no sense to bring a stranger's child to the hospital, but something in Emily's expression touched her deeply. "What about your family? Won't they worry?" "It's just me and Grandma Margaret. She's working in town and won't be back till night." After much effort, they managed to get Michael into the back seat. Emily sat beside him, holding his hand the whole way. Jennifer drove in silence, processing the conflicting details about the man she'd been married to for 15 years. Michael had always been private about his work. She knew he visited clients in small towns, but never imagined he was involved in charity. In fact, whenever she suggested donations or volunteering, he'd change the subject or complain about bills. At the hospital in Riverside, Michael was immediately seen by the medical team. Dr. Thompson, a man in his 50s, ran a series of tests. "His vitals are stable, but he's still very confused," he explained to Jennifer. "Could be stress or high blood pressure. We'll run more detailed tests." Emily had slipped into the hospital by hiding behind Jennifer. Now she sat in the hallway watching everything intently. "Young lady, where are your guardians?" a nurse asked. "She's with me," Jennifer quickly interjected. "She's family." She didn't know why she'd lied, but something in her resisted separating Emily from Michael just then. That afternoon, while waiting for test results, Emily shared more about her encounters with Michael. According to her, he came every Wednesday and Friday bringing food baskets, medicine, and sometimes used clothes. He talked with the kids, helped fix up shacks, and always asked if anyone needed something specific. "Once, Mrs. Susan had a terrible toothache," Emily recounted. "Mr. Michael took her to the dentist in town and paid for everything. He said it was a secret, that I couldn't tell anyone." "Why a secret?" Jennifer asked, her chest tightening. "He said he had a wife who wouldn't understand, that she had other worries and he didn't want to bother her." Emily's words cut Jennifer like a knife. Was that how Michael saw her? As someone who wouldn't understand kindness? How could someone who would bother to help people in need? She remembered their last arguments. Truth be told, she had been overly focused on financial matters, always worried about savings, investments, and retirement. When was the last time they had talked about doing something for others? "Was he talking about me?" she asked, almost afraid of the answer. "Sometimes. He said you were very smart, that you worked with important numbers." But he seemed sad when he spoke. "Sad how?" "Like Grandma Margaret when she talks about Grandpa who's gone, missing something." Jennifer felt her eyes well up. When was the last time they had truly talked? When had they last looked each other in the eyes during a conversation? She could barely remember. Dr. Thompson returned with the results. "The tests are normal, but he shows signs of severe stress and exhaustion. It might have been an acute anxiety episode. He'll recover, but he needs rest and, most importantly, to reduce the psychological pressure." "Psychological pressure?" Jennifer repeated. "Cases like this are more common than we think. People who keep too many worries to themselves, who overload themselves emotionally and physically. The body simply shuts down as a protective mechanism." That night, Michael had moments of clarity. He managed to drink water and say a few words, but he was still very weak. Emily never left his side, humming softly whenever he seemed restless. "Why didn't you tell me?" Jennifer asked when they were alone for a few minutes. Michael looked at her with tired eyes and tried to speak, but the words came out with difficulty. "You wouldn't understand." "Why wouldn't I understand? Do you see me as a bad person?" "Not bad. Just worried. About other things." Jennifer held his hand, feeling the weight of those simple yet devastating words. "Michael, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for becoming someone you couldn't trust with your good secrets." He squeezed her hand lightly, and Jennifer saw a tear roll down his face. "Wanted to tell, but what?" "Was afraid you'd think it was silly." The revelation hit Jennifer like a punch to the gut. When had she become someone her own husband feared sharing his acts of kindness with? Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us newcomers a lot. Now, continuing. The next morning, Emily brought Grandma Margaret to meet Jennifer. Margaret was a woman nearing 70, her grey hair tied in a bun, her face lined with age but her eyes kind, and her smile warm. "Mrs. Wilson, it's a pleasure," she said, extending a calloused hand. "Emily told me everything. Mr. Michael is an angel in our lives." "Mrs. Margaret, I didn't even know he helped you. I'm sorry for that. No need to apologize, dear. Everyone has their struggles. I know Mr. Michael didn't speak up because he didn't want to worry you. Good men are like that. They carry the weight alone." Margaret walked over to the bed where Michael slept. "But just look at him. He's thin, pale. Has he been eating right?" Jennifer realized with shame that she hadn't paid attention to her husband's eating habits in months. They ate at different times, often not even dining together. "He's been working too much," she said, more to justify herself than to explain. Too much work makes anyone sick, but the worst is working without someone to share your worries with, Margaret observed with the wisdom of someone who'd lived a long life. That day, others from the community came to the hospital to visit Michael. Each person had a different story about how he had helped, taking children to the doctor, buying school supplies, helping repair the roof of the makeshift school, getting documents at the city hall. "Your husband practically keeps our little school running," shared Mrs. Barbara, a retired teacher who taught the children in the community. "Every month he brings notebooks, pencils, even used books he gets from his clients." Jennifer listened to each account with a heavy heart. How had she grown so distant from Michael that she didn't know this fundamental part of who he was? "And he never asked for anything in return?" she asked. "Only that we didn't tell anyone," replied Mr. Robert, who took care of maintaining the shacks. "He said it was better that way, that he had his reasons." "What reasons?" Robert hesitated before answering. "I think he didn't want to seem like he was bragging. He once said important people wouldn't understand, that they'd think he was wasting time and money." The words echoed in Jennifer's mind. Important people. Was that how Michael saw her and their social circle? As people who wouldn't understand acts of kindness? She remembered recent conversations with work friends, always revolving around investments, trips, shopping. When was the last time they talked about helping someone? That afternoon, Michael had a moment of greater clarity. He managed to sit up in bed and talk a little more. "Jennifer, I'm sorry I didn't tell you," he said, his voice still weak but steadier. "Michael, I'm the one who should apologize. How did I make you feel like you couldn't trust me? It's not that, it's just, you've always had such clear, focused goals. I admired that about you, but at the same time, I felt like my need to help these people was childish." "Childish? Michael, what you do is wonderful. But it's not practical, it doesn't build wealth, it doesn't secure retirement, it doesn't—" "Stop it," Jennifer interrupted. "You're building so much more than wealth. You're building hope in these people's lives." Michael looked at her in surprise. "When did you start thinking like this?" "Ever since I saw who you really are through their eyes. Michael, I lost myself. I became so focused on financial security that I forgot everything else." Emily, who had been listening quietly in the corner of the room, stepped closer to the bed. "Uncle Michael, now that Aunt Jennifer knows, can she help too?" Michael looked at Jennifer with an expression mixing hope and uncertainty. "Jennifer, you don't have to feel obligated. Michael, I want to help. I want to meet these people. I want to understand what you're doing. But most of all, I want you to trust me again." Over the following days, as Michael recovered, Jennifer began visiting the community under the overpass. What she saw deeply shocked her. About 15 families lived in very difficult conditions, but there was an organization and solidarity among them she had never witnessed before. The children studied together under a tarp-covered area, the adults took turns caring for the elderly, and everyone contributed what they could for the common good. "Michael taught us that we may be poor in money, but rich in dignity," Margaret explained as she showed her the makeshift school. He never treated us like charity cases, always as capable people. Jennifer began to understand why Michael felt so connected to that community. There was a genuine humanity there she had forgotten existed. Mrs. Margaret, how did you all end up here? Everyone has their own story, dear. I lost my home when the river flooded 3 years ago. Mr. Robert lost his job and his apartment. Barbara retired, and her pension wasn't enough to pay rent. Life sometimes gets tough, but we come together and manage to keep going. And doesn't the city help? They promise a lot, deliver little. But we don't just rely on them. Michael taught us that we can help each other. During one of these visits, Jennifer learned Emily's full story. The girl had arrived there 6 months ago with Margaret, after her mother became very ill and could no longer care for her. "Where is your mother now?" Jennifer asked gently. "She's gone," Emily replied with the naturalness of children. "Grandma Margaret says she's in a place where she doesn't feel pain anymore." Jennifer understood the euphemism and felt her heart tighten. Emily had lost her mother, yet she maintained a joy and hope that was astonishing. "Is that why you wanted to help Michael? Because you know the pain of losing someone?" "Uncle Michael reminds me of my dad," Emily confessed. "I don't remember him well, but Mom always said he had kind eyes like Uncle Michael." "And aren't you afraid he might leave too?" "I am," the girl admitted. "But Grandma Margaret says, when we do good for others, good comes back to us. I want good to come back to Uncle Michael." Emily's innocence and wisdom touched Jennifer deeply. She was learning about life from an 8-year-old who had faced more hardships than many adults. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. A week after the highway incident, Michael was discharged from the hospital. He was physically recovered but still emotionally fragile. The doctor advised him to reduce his activities and avoid stress. "Michael, we need to talk about a few things," Jennifer said when they got home. They sat in the living room, a space that had long been used only for silent TV watching. "First, about selling the house. You were right to resist. I was only thinking about the financial side, but I didn't consider what this house means to you." "Jennifer, the house really is too big for us now, and it would be a good financial cushion. But we don't have to sell right away without properly discussing what we want for our lives." Michael looked at her with renewed attention. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I lost myself, Michael. I became obsessed with financial security and forgot to live. I forgot to ask what truly makes us happy." "And what do you think would make us happy?" Jennifer took a deep breath before answering. "I think helping those people would make us happy. But together as a couple sharing dreams." Michael was surprised by her answer. "You really want to get involved with the community?" "I do, but I want it to be our project, not just yours. I want us to trust each other again." They spent the afternoon talking like they hadn't in years. Michael shared how he'd discovered the community by chance when his car broke down near the overpass. Margaret had helped him, offering water and pointing him to a repair shop. He'd been struck by the dignity and organization of those people despite their hardships. "At first I just wanted to repay the kindness," he explained. "But then I realized they were teaching me far more than I was helping them." "What did they teach you?" "That happiness isn't about how much you have, but how much you share. That small gestures can change lives. That community means caring for one another." Jennifer thought about how she'd drifted from those values over the years. "Michael, I want to learn that too, but I need you to teach me, to be patient with me." "Jennifer, you're far more capable than you think. I saw how the community responded to you. You have skills I don't, knowledge that could help a lot." "What kind of knowledge?" "You understand finances, organization, planning. Margaret told me you talked to her about setting up a cooperative to generate income. That's something I'd never know how to do." It was true. During her visits, Jennifer had noticed many people in the community had skills that could be better organized. Barbara was an excellent teacher. Robert knew how to handle small repairs. Some women made delicious sweets. others sewed beautifully. Do you think we could help them formalize some kind of cooperative? I think together we could help with a lot. That's when Jennifer had an idea that would change everything. Michael, what if we didn't sell the house but used it differently? How so? Our house is big. There's that back room we never use, the huge backyard. What if we turned it into a space for the community's cooperative? Michael looked at her with growing admiration. Are you serious? Completely. We could use the room as the cooperative's headquarters, the yard for sales events, and still have space to live. Jennifer, that would be amazing. But what about the financial concerns you had? The financial part is still important, but now I see there are other ways to handle it. If the cooperative works, everyone can earn income, including us. Including us? I could use my financial knowledge to help manage the cooperative. You could handle the social and logistical side. It would be our job, our life project. Michael stayed silent for a moment, processing the idea. You'd quit your job at the company. Not right away, but I could go part-time and spend the rest on the cooperative. As things progress, we could reassess. What if it doesn't work out? Michael, what does working out mean to you? If it's just about money, I have enough savings to support us for a while. And if it's about fulfillment, I think we'll feel much more fulfilled doing something meaningful. Michael stood and hugged Jennifer for the first time in months with real emotion. I love you so much, he said, both for who you were and who you're becoming. I love you too, and I'm sorry I became someone you felt you had to hide your kindness from. You don't need to apologize. We just got a little lost along the way. What matters is, we're finding each other again. That week, they presented the idea to the community. The reaction was surprise and gratitude, but also concern. Are you sure about this? Margaret asked. It's a huge change in your lives. We're sure, Mrs. Margaret, Jennifer replied. In fact, I think it's the surest thing we've done in a long time. But what if we disrupt your home life? You won't disrupt it, Michael assured. You'll enrich it. Emily, who had stayed quiet the whole time, finally spoke. Does that mean we can visit you all the time? All the time, Jennifer confirmed, kneeling to her level. Actually, do you want to be my special assistant at the cooperative? Emily's eyes lit up with joy. Really? Really? I need someone who understands the community to help me organize things right. And can I still sing for Uncle Michael when he's sad? Of course, Michael answered, lifting her into his arms. In fact, I think I'll need you to sing a lot. We'll have plenty of work ahead. The next few months were a time of deep transformation. Jennifer negotiated with her boss to work part-time, dedicating her mornings to the company and her afternoons to the cooperative. Michael sold his sales route to a colleague and devoted himself entirely to the project. The back room of the house was transformed into a small workshop where women from the community made sweets, sewed, and crafted. The backyard became a gathering space for events and sales. The garage turned into storage for materials and products, but the real transformation happened in the people. Margaret discovered her life experience was valuable and began giving financial advice to other struggling families in the area. Barbara organized a literacy course for adults. Robert started a small home repair business, and Emily, the girl who had saved Michael on the highway, with her determination and kindness, became the beating heart of the entire operation. She knew everyone, remembered important details, and had an incredible ability to make people feel special. Aunt Jennifer, she said one day while helping organize the sales, Uncle Michael is different now. Different how? He smiles with his eyes again, like when I used to sing to him in the hospital. Jennifer watched Michael chatting animatedly with some customers who had come to buy the cooperative sweets. It was true, he was radiant in a way she hadn't seen in years. And you, Emily, are you happy with all this? I am, the girl replied without hesitation. But you know what makes me happiest. What? You two are happy together now. Before, when Uncle Michael visited the community, he seemed like he was missing something. Now he seems whole. The child's observation touched Jennifer deeply. It was true. They were whole again, but in a different way, not just as a couple but as part of something bigger. A year after the incident on the highway, the cooperative had become a model for the region. They supplied sweets to several diners in town, offered sewing services to stores, and organized training courses for other struggling communities. Jennifer had become an expert in cooperative economics, traveling to other cities to teach communities how to organize. Michael coordinated a network of volunteers who replicated the model elsewhere, but most importantly, they had rediscovered the meaning in their lives. "Do you regret anything?" Michael asked one evening as they dined in the backyard, lit by colorful lanterns Emily had insisted on hanging. "I regret taking so long to understand what really matters," Jennifer replied. "And you?" "I regret not trusting you from the start, thinking you wouldn't understand. I really didn't back then, but life gave us a second chance." "Thanks to Emily," Michael said, looking at the girl who was helping Margaret serve dessert. "Thanks to Emily," Jennifer agreed. That night, after everyone had left, the three of them stayed alone in the kitchen washing dishes and talking about the next day's plans. "Aunt Jennifer, can I ask you something?" Emily said, carefully drying a plate. "Of course, sweetheart. Why did you two fight that day on the road?" Jennifer and Michael exchanged glances. They had never explained to Emily the details of the argument that led to Michael's collapse. "We were lost, Emily," Michael answered honestly. "I was keeping secrets, your aunt was too worried about some things, and we forgot to talk. Like when Grandma Margaret and I fought because I didn't tell her I hurt my foot." "Exactly like that," Jennifer smiled. "When we don't talk about the important things, they get too heavy. But now you talk about everything." "About everything," Michael confirmed. "And do you know why? Why? Because a very clever little girl taught us that sometimes we need to let people touch our hearts to heal." Emily smiled, pleased with the explanation. "Mom always said that when we truly love someone, we want them to be happy with us, not alone." The wisdom of that 9-year-old child continued to amaze Jennifer every day. "Your mom was very wise," she said, hugging Emily, "and she was right. You're much happier together than alone." That night, when Emily and Margaret went home, Jennifer and Michael sat on the porch to talk, as they had every evening since they began rebuilding their relationship. "Do you think we would have figured all this out if not for what happened on that highway?" Jennifer asked. "I don't know. Maybe we would have kept living like strangers in the same house until we split for good. It's scary to think about, but it didn't happen. And do you know why? Why? Because in the hardest moment of our lives, a brave little girl showed up, one who wasn't afraid to say what she saw, who wasn't afraid to offer help when everyone else just rushed by. Emily really saved us. She did, but in a way she doesn't even realize. It wasn't just that day on the highway. It was her showing us every day since then how to live with courage, generosity, and hope. And now we keep learning from her and all these amazing people who came into our lives." Jennifer looked out at the backyard where the co-op table still stood, at the back room where a faint light still glowed, at the whole new life they'd built together. "Michael, do you think we're happy?" "I'm sure we are. But it's a different kind of happiness than before." "How so?" "Before we looked for happiness just for ourselves. Now we've found a happiness that grows when it's shared." "Like love," Jennifer observed. "Exactly like love." 2 years later, during the co-op's anniversary celebration, Emily climbed onto the small makeshift stage in the backyard and asked to give a speech. "I want to thank Uncle Michael and Aunt Jennifer for letting me touch their hearts that day," she said, her voice clear and steady for an 11-year-old who'd lived so much. "And I want to thank all of you for letting them touch your hearts too." The crowd applauded, moved. Nearly 100 people were there, co-op members, customers, partners, old and new friends. "But most of all, I want to say something important," Emily continued. "That day on the highway, I told Aunt Jennifer that Uncle Michael would come back if she let me touch him, and he did. But it wasn't my hand that brought him back." Jennifer felt her eyes well up. "It was your love that brought him back, and that brought her back too, and that brought all of us back to a better life." Silence filled the backyard for a moment, broken only by the sound of birds in the trees. So when someone you love is lost, sad, or giving up, remember, sometimes we just need to let love touch their heart, and let their love touch ours too. Michael stepped onto the stage and hugged Emily, unable to hide his tears. "Thank you, sweetheart," he whispered. "Thank you for teaching me that coming back to life sometimes just means letting love in." Jennifer joined the embrace, and soon the whole community was hugging too, a great chain of affection and gratitude. That night, after the party ended and everyone left, the family formed in that house gathered once more in the kitchen. "Emily," Jennifer said as the girl helped her put away the last dishes, "you know you completely changed our lives, right?" "I know," she answered simply. "But you changed mine too." "How so?" "You taught me that family isn't just who you're born with. It's who chooses to stay together and take care of each other." Michael, who was wiping down the backyard tables, stopped to listen. "And you taught me that when you truly love someone, you don't hide who you are. You share who you are." "Where did you learn to be so wise?" Jennifer asked, amazed. "From you," Emily smiled. "And from life. Life teaches you a lot when you pay attention." "And what else has life taught you?" "That sometimes people get lost, but they can always find their way back. That sometimes hearts get sick, but love heals. And that sometimes we think we have to be strong alone, but we're actually stronger together." Margaret, who was putting the finishing touches in the kitchen, walked over to the group. "This girl was born old," she said, pride clear in her voice. "Even as a little one, she said things even I didn't quite understand." "Grandma, I wasn't born old," Emily protested, laughing. "I just pay attention to the important things." "And what are the important things?" Michael asked, joining them. "Love is important, family is important, helping others is important, and telling the truth is important." She counted on her fingers. "Oh, and singing is important too." "Why is singing important?" Jennifer wanted to know. "Because when we sing, we share our feelings with the world, and when we share good feelings, they multiply." "How did you know singing to Michael that day would help?" "I didn't," Emily admitted. "But Mom always said that when someone's hurting, music and kindness can help. So I tried. And if it hadn't worked? Then I would have tried something else. We can't give up on the people we love." A quiet fell over the group, each absorbing the depth of those simple words. "Emily," Michael finally said, "want to know a secret?" "Yes." "That day on the highway when you started singing, I could hear you. I was half awake, half asleep, but I heard your voice, and that's what made me want to come back." "Really?" Emily's eyes lit up. "Really. Your voice reminded me there were still beautiful things in the world, that there were still people who cared." "And later, when you saw Aunt Jennifer cared too?" "Then I knew everything would be okay." Jennifer held Michael's and Emily's hands at the same time. "We were lucky you found us," she said. "It wasn't luck," Emily corrected. "It was fate. Mom always said the right people come into our lives when we need them most. So you think it was fate we met? I'm sure of it. You needed to learn to love each other again, and I needed a family to teach me that love never ends. It just changes." End of story. Dear listeners, what did you think of this touching story? Do you believe true love can really mend broken hearts? Tell us in the comments where you're listening from, and if you know a similar story. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss more heartwarming stories. Thanks for being here with us as always.